Hi everyone, I officially welcome you all for the podcast series from Art of Law, and we have our own guest Preethi. So I hope you already heard a great introduction from Preethi about all the things she have been worked and all the great achievements she have done now. So thank you Preethi for joining for today's podcast. A huge gratefulness from both the founder as well as co-founder from Art of Law. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining.
You, Kamal and Pawan. This is honestly my second podcast, so let's see how this goes. Thanks for recognizing and choosing me to be worthy of this. So I'm very happy to be on this podcast today.
Thank you, Preethi. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Puri.
Yeah. So Preeti, let's start with the first important question. So Preeti, tell me about, how was your law school life? How was your 5 years LLB? Because I've seen you're one of the most amazing seniors of law school. I've seen all the stages of your growth because you're just 1 year age difference, but then I've seen across, like 1 or 2 years age difference, I've seen all your progression from the law school. So can you tell me how was your law school life in Christ?
Sure. I would like to give like a little background of why I happen to choose law, and then I would like to say, based on that, I would like to say how really my 5 years of law school journey in Christ really was. My initial inspiration to really do law or pursue law was because of my paternal grandfather, and he's someone I'd like to call like a half lawyer, as in he started his law degree back in the day, but then due to various responsibilities he never had the chance to really complete it. So at some point during childhood, I remember him constantly, recollecting a lot of his own aspirations, like how he wanted to be a lawyer, how he wanted to go and argue at the high court, and all of this. And I think those aspirations sort of translated into my own. And very sort of, I think, complementingly, so I also happen to choose like a lot of public speaking, a lot of Model United Nations competitions during my high school. And I think that sort of very directly went for me to pursue law. And the second reason why I really wanted to pursue law was because I was very clear that I didn't want to go for the conventional medical or engineering fields. And ironically, both my parents are doctors. So I come from a healthcare background. I really had no one in the legal field, at least in my family. So that was something like I'm a first generation lawyer. So that led me to sort of pursue law. And then while having to choose different law schools within India, obviously, for me, national law schools were like top runners. But due to various reasons, that did not materialize. So I found myself in Christ University. And I would say that I think like the major part of the credit that I owe to whatever I am today, Christ University has literally sort of laid that foundation for me. And it's like if I hadn't started there, maybe I'd be a different person. So I always like to give some of the credit to the person that I am today to Christ University. Speaking of how my 5 years was, honestly, I don't remember how the 5 years just went in a snap. Like it was pretty fast, and it was extremely hectic, I would say, because the first year of law school is all about trying to get adjusted, trying to figure out what you're going to do, where you're going to be, and it's all that excitement in the first year. And I think eventually that starts fading away because you see a lot of competition around you, and you're naturally sort of drawn towards thinking to how you should like make your mark, how to carve out your own niche and stuff like that. So I think that was pretty much a similar kind of experience for me. But then jokes apart, like first year of law school for me was really like all about the chilling. I barely remember sort of even attending classes properly. Like for me, it was more of, oh, I just entered, university. I need to have my time. I need to have fun. I need to make new friends. It was more on that side. But then I think eventually it had to sort of come down to saying, well, I really need to do something for myself and take my career seriously. So it was only in the second year of law school that I started sort of exploring different areas of law that really interested me. And one of the biggest, I would say, front runners in that case was international business. That's because I had also started working part time. After an internship, I had started working part time as a paralegal, I would say, with joint distilleries. And with that particular part-time job, I started getting more insights into how exactly international business works and how exactly different aspects of compliance works in international business. So I think doing that, like gaining practical experience and also uh, studying at the same time, sort of blended in very well, and it gave me a lot of exposure. After that, I naturally started looking at a lot of courses that um, were sort of attracting towards international business. Like in my electives, I had to choose courses that were naturally drawn towards international business and which made it a lot easier for me. And then, of course, like all of that happened. And then we had the pandemic, which moved us all virtual. And then that was really when I started exploring more about my career. Like I don't know, like I have had several amazing mentors throughout the 5 years. And one of them who's still my mentor, and I literally revere this person like anything, he happened to tell me that, it's very important to diversify your profile. Like you shouldn't be doing the same thing um, on and on and on and again, because that's really not something that's going to fetch you a lot of skills, and it's not going to really prepare you for the outside world. So I took his words seriously, and then that's when during the pandemic I started exploring different options. Like, I was trying to see all the kinds of different internships that I could do. So which is when, like, after all the pandemic and everything, which is when I also had the chance to intern with the Times of India, where I was doing a lot of legal journalism and like picking up a whole different set of skills. And then that was also around the time when I had just applied for the Hague Academy of International Law at The Hague. And that materialized. So I found myself going to Hague, did a summer school, and came back. And then by the time I was back, um, it was all like totally packed, and then it was already final year of law school. Like I barely had the chance to even process anything, so it was already final year of law school, and I was just like, okay, well, time to take things seriously and then pursue it. So yeah, that was literally my 5 years journey of law school it at Christ. And yeah, like I said, a big part of the credit goes to Christ University, because it really laid down the foundation for whatever I have achieved today and whoever I am today. And I also feel like as a first generation lawyer, I think being at Christ University was something like I had the space to explore myself. It wasn't like, let's say, if I were in another school, I don't know how much of bandwidth I would have gotten to do whatever experimenting and exploring I would have done otherwise. So, yeah, I would say definitely a big part of the credit goes to Christ for my initial foundation.
That's great. That's great to know about it. So can you tell me about what motivated you to pursue your LLM degree? And in Georgetown University, how did you enter in, and what was the process for it? And also, can you also advise, because there are many youngsters who's basically following our channel, so they have this major doubt who should be pursuing this LLM degree for. So like it's like a normal biggest confusion for many law students initially after their fifth year. So can you please advise who should be pursuing LLM degree course and what motivated you to pursue LLM?
I will answer your second question first. That way, I think we'll be able to hit bullseye initially, and then I can speak a little more about my journey. So, the LLM degree, you need to understand, is it's like a lifetime investment. So you're not just putting in money; you're also putting in your time, your resources, your energy, and a huge chunk of sacrifices that you need to be making just to take it's I would say it's like a leap of faith. Like, you've had a nice 5 years, and you've mostly been, like, in a shell where you feel like, oh, everything's nice, like this is the end of it, it's not going to get any tougher. So if you think that's how, if you feel like your 5 years of law school was, your LLM is just 1 year, so you might have to just think it like doing whatever you did for 5 years in 1 year. So that's literally how an LLM is like. And I wouldn't say like, I mean, obviously do an LLM only and only if you're ready to take that leap of faith, if you're ready to put in like a lot of your energy. Like, you have to treat it like a full-time job. Like, for 1 year you're going to have to treat it like a full-time job, and that you're doing like actual work, and you're at the same time you're also studying. So you need to treat it that way. And the other thing is, a lot of fifth year law students ask me, is it good to get experience right after fifth year, or do I just directly get into an LLM? I would say honestly, it doesn't matter. It's just that, at least overseas, if you're planning to do your LLM, having experience helps. Having post qualification experience definitely helps. I am not like, I wouldn't suggest anyone that, let's say you don't have post qualification experience. I wouldn't demotivate you and say, what, please get experience and then go ahead and then do your masters. I wouldn't suggest that, because honestly, it doesn't matter. I know several people who have still pursued an LLM abroad and who've got great jobs without having any post qualification experience in India. And it's not like they're in just any other job, they're in really good jobs. One of them, whom I know, is currently working for the IFC, and we both share similar backgrounds, I would say. And you can take my own case itself. Like, I did not have any post qualification experience after law school. My decision to pursue an LLM was sort of planted in me when I was doing the Hague Academy of International Law summer school. And that's really when I decided for myself that, yes, I'm going to do the LLM, and I'm going to do it right after graduation, because I knew for a fact that I know, like, for my personally, like, I know for a fact that as a person, I cannot get myself to, sit and study in one place once I start working. Like, it's really a task. So I knew for a fact that that's another reason why I wanted to do my LLM right after graduation. And yeah, so answering the question of what motivated me to pursue my LLM and why Georgetown. So my initial motivation to pursue LLM only happened during, yeah, like I said, the summer school. And why it happened then was because that was when I happened to meet a lot of people who've done their LLM and who've, like, excelled and who've been doing great jobs overseas. And like, networking with them sort of gave me that exposure to understand the fact that, like, if you really need to have a niche and like excel in your field, how much essential a postgraduate degree would become. So, but then after having seen one side of it, I also happened to learn from these people that doing an LLM is not as easy as it sounds, because you will have to put in a lot of effort, a lot of, I wouldn't even say, talk about the financial aspect. I would just say, like, unless and until you're sure about it, please don't go for it. Like, if you even have the slightest doubt that, will I be able to do it well, or like, why now? If you're really having those questions, I would say honestly, don't even think about even getting into LLM, because once you're in that pool, you're done for, I would say, because it's very hectic. I don't remember how my 1 year at Georgetown really snapped past, I would say. I wouldn't even say it went. It just snapped past, like, because it's just 2 semesters and we have so much to do in 2 semesters. It's like, a whole different deal altogether. To be honest, Georgetown Law was really my last choice. I was of the impression that if having applied to so many law schools overseas, if I hadn't gotten anywhere else wherever I saw myself being there, Georgetown Law was really like, I would say, plan B. But uh, it was also during like when I was putting in my applications, it was during that time that I happened to meet the current assistant dean of admissions of Georgetown Law. And she, like, I had one conversation with her, and that's when I decided that, okay, Georgetown Law is the university for me. And why I chose Georgetown Law very specifically was because of the kind of course design that they offered. I chose the IWEL program, which is International Business and Economic Law specialization. And I also wanted to do a World Trade Organization Studies certificate along with the LLM. So it's like you're doing a specialty and you're doing a super specialty at the same time. And you get the liberty of choosing courses in such a way where it ticks both the boxes. And when I mean to say it ticks both the boxes, it fulfills like IWEL requirements, specialty requirements, and it also fulfills like World Trade Organization certificate requirements. So it was like a very I would say a very flexible program. Like I had the liberty to choose my own schedule. I had the liberty to choose how I wanted to do this. It's like there was no mandation that I need to take this course, I need to take that course. Like there's complete liberty in terms of that. And the other reason why I chose Georgetown was, of course, location. Like you're in the heart of Washington, D.C., it's the capital of the US. Um, it's also where the headquarters of the World Bank, the IFC, and the IMF are situated. So that was an easy sort of win for me. And then I said, okay, like if all of these boxes are really fitting in, then why not? Another reason why I chose Georgetown was I was writing my dissertation in my final year, and I happened to quote, I would say, three international trade scholars. And these three people were also someone whom I had the great privilege of being mentored by, and I happened to also work with them at some point in my career during Georgetown. Professor Jennifer Hillman, Professor Greg Schaefer, and Professor Catherine Kuhlman. All of these three people were some like scholars whom I had quoted like every third or fourth line in my dissertation. Like my whole dissertation citations were filled with their names. So that's when I realized, oh, these people are all affiliated with Georgetown, and it was all like a natural fit. So something that was like a backup plan for me in a matter of, I think, a week, it just changed. And then I was very sure that I want to go to Georgetown Law.
That's great. So, can you tell me how can we choose a specialization in an LLM? Because many people are really confused. How are they supposed to choose a specialization? And Preeti, can you also tell normally the tier one firms are there, right? Or normally it could be an international company. If students generally want to go and like go work after their LLM, like is does LLM becomes a major kind of important priority in the aspect of specialization? And can you tell me the important role of specialization over here?
Yeah, sure. So, talking of specialization, I think it's something that helps you carve your own niche for yourself. For me personally, how I happened to do this was, since my high school days, economics is one subject that really caught my attention. Like, I never had to spend a lot of time studying economics or trying to understand economics. And then once I entered law school, we had this subject where we were taught law and economics, where we were trying to understand how law and economics intersect with each other, how that interplay sort of occurs almost every single area of law. Like it's not like it's just in corporate law, or it's just in business law, or it's just in trade law, or somewhere else. I saw how it could be applied differently. So, given those kind of subjects, that it was quite natural for me to sort of choose subjects that in very easily sort of intertwined with themselves. And that was when I happened to choose like corporate law and business law, and then I started taking it forward from there. And again, when I talk of corporate law and business law, these are subjects that again intersect with more bigger domains such as international trade law. So for very obvious reasons, I happen to choose like those subjects where I didn't have to spend a lot of time myself. Like if I read it at one shot, it should really sit in my brain and it should just come to me naturally. So I was always of the impression that I need to do something in on those lines. And having said that, that was really how I happened to choose my own specialization. And I like the biggest reason why specialization really helps you is you never want to be like, jack of all trades, master of none. So that's really the motto behind why you need to have a specialization, especially if you're pursuing a legal career. I mean, it's good to have knowledge of everything, all the kinds of laws, all the different kinds of laws that exist, and all the domains of laws that exist. But if you really want to be unique and have like some sort of like mark for yourself, it's very important to have a specialization. And talking of specialization, the really like how you should approach this is to start choosing subjects of your interest throughout law school in the form of electives. Like that is very essential. Like if you take a look at all the electives that I chose, they were all of them were either closely related to corporate law or international business law, international economic law. These were the kinds of subjects that I was generally drawn towards. So I happened to take those. And then that sort of naturally led me to also think about what I want to write in my dissertation. Like I've seen a lot of fifth year students struggle with saying, like, I don't know what to write. Like I don't know which domain of law I should be choosing. So I would say something that comes very naturally to you, where you don't have to put in a lot of effort, and something that's really like, I would say satisfies your soul. Like for me, if I read anything in international trade law or international economic policies, I think that satisfies my soul. So I happen to just naturally choose that. And talking of specialization in LLM, it's extremely, extremely important because it's going to decide your whole career after that. So it totally helps you understand or sort of shape it for yourself, like what you want to do in future. um, Georgetown, for example, Georgetown does offer a general studies LLM where you get to literally cherry pick courses like from all over. And I don't see how that would have helped me because one, I'm not getting any specialization. And the whole purpose of me to come to a different country, move out of my comfort zone and do all of that is defeated when I'm not doing something that's having to carve out my own niche. So if most listeners are thinking like, why do you think like specialization is important, I would say if you really want to stand out in the crowd, do something different, be someone who's different, that's when specialization really matters. It could be anything. It could be like, I don't know, international economic law, IP law, health law. It could be the intersection of all of these laws. Like currently, the work that I am doing is a huge part of it is intersection of health law and international business law. So it's not just something that's got to do solely like, just international economic law or international business law. A big chunk of the work that I'm doing is very intersecting. It's like I'm trying to explore how health policies sort of align with international trade policies, how we can look at like shortage of healthcare professionals with international trade policy. So it's a very I would say nerdy kind of work to do, but it's very also important to understand how all of these domains exist and how they interact with each other.
That's great. So, Preeti, next is a very important question, because we have been from Art of Law, we have been working on a couple of national projects. international project, and we also got a feature under this United Nations Academic Impact Program called as Millennium Campus Network. So one important question asked by most of them is about the scholarships. So can you please tell in brief about how do we apply for scholarships? And like, because especially we have many people who's from the tier 2 and tier 3 colleges, even it's very hard for them to get sufficient kind of funding to go to an LLM. So can you just tell in brief about how do we apply for scholarships and what are the different kind of scholarships available, or in generally what is the process for it? And also you said that about this fellowship programs. So in case if students wants to apply through scholarship a particular fellowship also, how are they supposed to do it? So yeah, this is a very important question. So can you please take it over, because this was the maximum voted question from our audience side.
Yeah, so I would say as much as scholarship is important for anyone else in tier two, tier three cities, countries, um, it was it held the same importance for me too. And I don't think if I hadn't gotten a scholarship from Georgetown, I would have pursued the LLM personally, because it makes a huge difference in terms of not just in terms of the funds that you receive for your education, but also for the fact that it reduces a significant burden of the amount of financial resources that you're putting in just to get this degree, and at some point also think of the return on the investment that you've made. So for me, when I was applying to scholarships, there are kinds of scholarships, I would say. One are internal scholarships, and the second one is external scholarships. Talking of internal scholarships are those scholarships which the university generally awards to students um, on the basis of merit and on the basis of how you've written your SOP, and how you've basically drafted your whole application to the university. And these are really like need based, merit based, but mostly merit based. So not all of them are need based, merit based. Like at Georgetown, it is simply merit based. There's no concept of it being need based. So these are internal scholarships. On the other hand, we have something called as external scholarships, which are scholarships from a lot of these foundations, a lot of these international organizations, a lot of nonprofits who are there just to fund students, who are there just to help students get that financial resource to go abroad, go overseas, and pursue their masters or pursue any sort of education for that matter. So I would suggest that when students are making this choice of wanting to get scholarship, the first and foremost thing that they really need to do is have a really good application. Like that is one of the biggest things that really pushes the needle in favor of getting scholarship or not. So I would say definitely think about how you draft your scholarship application and just the application in general itself. Because like for Georgetown, unless and until you really want to write an essay just to tell them why you want a scholarship or anything of that sort, they don't really ask for it. Like it's not required per se. It's just like, well, if we have it, it's good, but if we don't have it, you're fine, sort of situation. So that's typically how it works, at least in the case of most LLMs. Most LLMs in the US, I never applied to UK universities, so I'm not in a position to speak about them. But definitely in the US, that's typically how it works. And talking of external scholarships, they will have their own separate application process to see where exactly you stand in the pool of competition and how well or how meritorious you are. So, and a lot of times these external scholarships are need based, merit based, more need based, less merit based. So when I'm talking about need based, merit based, you need to think that it's not on you to write a sob story in the application saying, you had like so many hardships during your law school, you never had access to resources. I mean, everyone has their own fair share of hardship. So it's very important to not write a sob story. Like some people do advise you and tell you like, please write a sob story. That's the end of it. You're going to get a scholarship. I would say don't look at it that way. really look at it like how exactly is there a chance for you to prove yourself as to why you need the resources, like what motivates you to get those financial resources, what would you do with that money. I mean, in Georgetown's case, if it's an internal scholarship, they give it only for tuition, which means the money that they give is only for your tuition. So it's, you cannot use it for anything else. So if it's an external scholarship, you really have to prove to the committee as to why or what exactly are you going to do with that money. Like, I mean, obviously you will be using it for your own funds, but you should also look at the end goal of it. Like, it's not just about you using the funds and forgetting about it. You need to say that here's how I can give back to the community, here's what I need to do, or here's what I will do at some later point in my career after the masters. Here's where I want to work. um, here's here's something that I want to achieve because I had the privilege to do. Like, these are some of the motivating questions that you need to think of when you're applying for external scholarships. Internal scholarships, on the other hand, is mostly just for tuition, so you need to just prove how meritorious you are. Please, like a lot of people do ask me for advice and on like how to draft your applications. The first and foremost advice I give them is don't write a sob story. Like, every individual has their own challenges, no one gets it easy, no one has it the easy way. So please don't like make it in such a way that you're the only person who has hardships, or you're the only person who um, has gone through so much turmoil in life. So don't look at it that way. Instead, try to prove why you're the best and why you deserve it. So I think if you're able to look at those two questions very interconnectedly, it sort of helps in trying to get scholarships.
So Preeti, can you tell like what role did the networking during LLM play securing the important roles which you have and the jobs and the opportunities that you got? Can you tell about that?
This question is like, I don't know, even in my previous podcast, this was one question that I got asked the most. And I've been getting a lot of other people also ask me, like, how do you network? Um, why do you make it seem so easy and stuff like that? One thing about networking, I would say, in my own personal experience, is every single job opportunity that I have gotten till date is through networking. I knew someone who knew someone who knew someone got me the job. Or I knew someone who got me the job. Or I knew someone who knew someone got me the job. Either it's through first degree, second degree, or third degree connections who've helped me achieve whatever it could be. Um, that being said, networking is not just something you do once you get to LLM stage. The moment you start, or the moment you decide you're going to pursue a law career, that's when you start networking. And talking of networking, one of my professors, Professor Jennifer Hillman, always kept telling me this. One small piece of advice about networking is the fact that it's not important in networking, it's not important about you knowing the who's who of the law world, or like the professional world. It's very important that the who's who knows you. So it's not about you knowing the big and important people, it's about them knowing you and them recognizing you that you have some skill, and them sort of understanding that you can add value is when networking really hits bullseye. And the other thing of networking is, I don't think it's something that you do only when you reach master stage. Like I said, it needs to happen at every stage of your career. So, right, let's say you start a new internship. It, like, make it a point to go and talk to everyone in the office, whether it's during lunch or when you're trying to get maybe coffee or something. Like, at that point of time, just it's very, very, very important to sort of start looking at networking, like making friends. Like, if you're able to make friends in the professional world and keep that relationship, like for long, that's when you really know that you've added value to your network. Like there's no point, like even so, talking of networking, there are two kinds of networking, one that you do offline and one that you do online. And when I say offline, I'm talking about networking in person. Let's say you've gone to a conference or some event or some seminar, you're meeting people there. So there you just meet the person, you take their name or you take their email ID, come back home and write to them. Write a small note saying, "Hey, it was great talking to you at this event. We had an enriching conversation, blah, blah, blah," and so on and so forth. So that way, having that follow up really makes a huge difference, because that way that person knows that you've not just met them, but you've also spoken to them and you have also shown how you can add value to the table. So let's say that person that you met happens to be someone who's working in some top position somewhere, right? And then you write them a little note and say, well, it was nice talking to you. I really had this great conversation, etc., etc. And you send that email to them, so they know they have you in their mind. That's really when it makes all the difference. The other kind of networking I would say is like cold networking, or networking that you're trying to do online, is when you're trying to meet people over LinkedIn, and how you're going to use that particular network of yours online to your own advantage, to your own, use it to leverage like opportunities. Like literally, even in the US or even in India, all the opportunities that I have gotten has not been through applications. It has all been through networking. More specifically, talking of getting opportunities in the US, whether it was my research assistantship, whether it was my fellowship at the Institute of International Economic Law, or whether it was getting my first job at a think tank, every single thing materialized through networking. I met someone, they told me someone else's name, I tried following up with them, I tried going on coffee chats with different people. Um, all of this literally sort of materialized to get me a job. In fact, even my current role at this startup, MediBlock Incorporated, even there, it materialized through networking. It was not something like I gave my application, did something very traditional. So it was pretty simple. So like my dad knew someone who knew someone who knew someone, so it was like third degree connection, and they happened to recognize the value that I bring to the table, and they just offered me a job. So it was like I finished my previous job, and it was on a Friday night. I finished my previous job. By then, I was already in talks with the current company, and I had like just literally a weekend to relax. And my current boss just said like, I don't care, I want you to start Monday morning. So it was literally like that. So that's the importance of networking, has which is held in my career so far.
So, Preeti, can you highlight the importance of research and writing, so which you have mentioned in your LinkedIn profile? So, like, how did your like LLM contribute for the developing of your skills and like for the betterment of your career advancement?
Sure. So the fact of having, or just having to improve your research and writing skills, starts the moment you decide to choose law as a career. Like you should start honing these skills, practicing these skills the moment you set foot in law school. These are something that is non-negotiable. Like if you really want to have a great law career, first and foremost, I would say, is networking. Second thing is really having to do good legal research and writing. And when I'm talking about legal research and writing, legal research specifically is not just having to read the law, but to also extract those information that is really critical. Like, let's say you're reading some new act that the parliament has released, is not just about reading it and just processing that information, but at the same time, it is also about basically when you're reading it, it's pulling out those points which are like pressure points. I like to call them pressure points, because those are ones which really tell you like what's wrong with the law, or is anything, can anything be fixed, does it need fixing. So it is extracting these pressure points when we're talking about legal research. It's not just about reading. uh, as in when you're reading, it's also extremely important for you to constantly think of how you're going to critically analyze whatever you're reading. Like, let's say there's a trade and healthcare policy that's put for you. It's not just that, oh, I read this article and I'm done with it. It's important for you to sort of extract those pressure points and put it in a piece of paper and ask questions that really help in furthering research and writing. Like, it should add to the literature, the body of literature, or it should add to the whole domain of whatever you're trying to do. It's not like just something that you look at it from a very single-sided angle. So you need to look at it in all the different angles and try to understand how it intersects, how exactly it sort of has an interplay with various domains of law. So when I'm talking about legal research and writing, this is something that you start practicing um, throughout your law school. Like, I always remember, this is way back when I was in school. I remember my math teacher telling me that, if you don't practice math every single day, you're gonna get like go out of touch of it. Like, you're definitely not going. It's not going to get your head. I would say the same thing with legal research and writing. Like, don't look at it like, oh, I learned it once. I just did it once in one semester and I'm done with it. I'm done for. It's something that you carry throughout your life. Talking of how it's important in LLM, if your legal and research writing skills are top notch right from your foundational years, which is in your law school, everything, I'm talking about everything as in everything in your LLM is a cakewalk. Like, you won't struggle reading like 50-page articles, 100-page articles. You will not struggle doing that. And a lot of LLMs overseas stress on having you to add something to the literature body, add something um, to the whole domain of law, and advance academics there. So when you're talking of all of this, having these skills sort of flow in naturally, and having these skills is also extremely important so that you can think about how you are going to contribute to exactly the body of research. So it's not just that there's something and you're just reiterating what's been said, but you're also bringing in your ideas. And how you're able to get these ideas is really through legal research, like critical analysis and legal research, because it's like I said, it's not just having to read like a whole page of paper and then just saying that, oh, I read it, I understood. It's also about saying, I read it, I understood, and I see where these points really make sense. As in, like, I don't see how this really fits into the bill. I want to think about it differently. I want to sort of maybe add a different dimension to this, or think about changing policies this way. So you really want to look at legal research and writing that way. Um, like, for instance, this is something that happened very recently. And I would like to take this example because initially I felt a little clueless, but then it all fell in place. So this was about a few weeks ago when the current Trump administration came up with an executive order to ban like single-use plastics across the US. And sorry, it was to revoke the ban. It was not to ban, but it was to revoke the ban. I'm extremely sorry. But my supervisor immediately, like, he just texts me on Teams and he says, so there's this new executive order that the Trump administration has released. Can you do like a quick research and let me know what you think about it? I said, well, we are working on healthcare technology and we're trying to understand how international business regimes help healthcare technology. and stuff like that. How do you think this makes sense? This was exactly the question that I asked my supervisor, and he said, "Well, think about it." And then I said, "Yeah, okay, it makes sense." So if essentially if you're revoking single use plastics, it means more plastic in the circular economy. And when you mean more plastics in the circular economy, it means more harm is being done to the environment. More harm being done to the environment means more harm being done to people, citizens, etc., which means people will start falling sick more often, they will start going to hospitals more often, and that's going to create like more demand, less supply of healthcare professionals. So we need to think of how we are going to sort of understand that problem and at least try creating a policy or looking at some um product that we can use to at least ease the burden of healthcare, like the shortage of healthcare professionals. And that was really like mind blowing for me. Like I was not able to catch that initially, but as I was reading through the order, I was able to think of those points that really prompted these questions. So I think it's very, very important when you're talking of legal research and writing. This aspect of critical analysis that I just emphasized on becomes very, very, very important. And it's not something that you can just get done away with, or you can just push outside your way and say it's like a one time thing. As much as you don't like it, you need to start making terms with it because it's going to come with you throughout your career.
Okay. So, Preeti, as you're telling about the internships and the your research associate roles and all, so how do you think it's that important for gaining practical knowledge in the field alongside of LLM? So, how did you approach it? Like, how do you feel like it's really important for people to take it up?
Um, I think it makes a huge difference when you don't have post qualification experience to get research internships or fellowships, research fellowships on the side, not just to add to your resume to show experience, but to also complement and understand whatever you've been studying. And when I say this, so for instance, a lot of times I would like have just my professors explain a lot of trade policies in class, and we would just take all of that from class and just go home and like live with it or just be there. But then on the side, when I was doing this research assistantship and a research fellowship at the same time, it gave me a lot of exposure to try and understand exactly how all these policies were actually being implemented or how they were being framed in practice, because it was extremely I would say enriching, because on the one side you're just getting to understand the theoretical aspect of it, the technical aspect of it. On the other hand, you're seeing from your own eyes um, how it sort of seeps into practice. So it's very complimenting to see that you know both both the things, that is theory and practice, come together, and it becomes very important because it adds more meaning to whatever you're studying. It's not just that you're studying and you're like, oh, I studied and then I'm living with it and I'm done with it. But at the same time, it's adding more meaning, and then you're able to make more sense of exactly whatever that you have studied. It's just like having theory and practice go hand in hand at the same time. So, like for most people, I definitely would suggest for them to look at, um, doing internships, doing research and assistantships, doing fellowships that would help them understand the practical side of things, because it's not just having to read a book or having to read like some few papers and then just forgetting about it, but it's also trying to understand how they seep into practice. So whether it's your LLB or whether it's your LLM, internships matter, research assistantships matter, fellowships matter, uh, extremely important, because that's really what's going to add meaning to whatever you're doing, and it's going to add meaning to whatever you're studying. So it's not just about just reading and forgetting, it's also about experiencing whatever you have read.
Okay. So, Preeti, what are the some emerging career trends or opportunities within the international law that LLM graduates should be aware of?
Um, a lot of such career options, I would say. For example, the path that I have chosen right now, one that is intersecting with healthcare technology, one that is intersecting with healthcare policies and international business. And you may ask me, like, they are two different things. How do you think they're going to intersect? Um, a huge chunk of the work that I am doing is going to help international organizations like WHO or WIPO to understand how they can play a role in fulfilling the demand for the shortage of healthcare professionals. On the other hand, a huge chunk of work that I'm doing is also going to help shape policies in the near future of how we need to look at developing different products to understand or to streamline the existing shortage, or to sort of help the demand that already exists. So basically, I would say look at not extremely non-conventional options, like, think of international economic law, because that is something that impacts every single person. um, and when I say this, I'm saying this because, let's say there's like two countries are trading with each other, and then suddenly one of them decides to increase tariffs. Everything the other country is importing from this country becomes expensive, and it's going to affect every citizen. It's not like it's going to affect the country itself on the macro side, but also on the micro side, it's going to affect like each and every single citizen. So think of those domains which really are less touched or untouched, and you can start exploring more into these domains. That being said, you can think of having careers at international organizations like the World Bank, the World Health Organization, the WIPO, the World Trade Organization. These are non-conventional because not many of them are aware of how to get a foot in the door. In fact, I myself am still cracking how to get my foot in the door in any of these international organizations. I've been trying for almost 2 or 3 years now. It's not materialized yet. But anyways, jokes apart, think of careers in international organizations. Think of careers where you are doing policy related work. And when I mean policy related work, it is that typical critical analysis or critical research that you're doing as part of your job, and like working for think tanks or giving advice to think tanks that, well, here's a pressure point, here's a policy that really needs to be changed, or here's a policy that makes sense but it's not completely falling into place. So think of those policy related roles as well, because, like, let's say you enter the legal profession. Having a corporate career, having a litigation is not the end of the world. It's much, much, much more beyond that. There are very few people who can do like really good research. Like, a lot of times I've seen professors literally struggle to get research assistants who really know how to extract the points and present it to them. So think of these roles where you're just doing all the back end research work, and then you're presenting all of that for the lawyers to take it forward. So being a lawyer there also helps. Um, think of roles where you are not just assisting lawyers, but you are doing like multiple roles of trying to, convince people, especially in the government space or in the international organization space, to change policy itself. Like, that's a very, very hard job to do, and a good part of my job right now at the startup is that's literally what I'm trying to do. Like, my supervisor keeps telling me to meet a lot of people in the government, or meet people who are working for international organizations, think tanks, nonprofits, and try to convince them as to how policy really needs to be changed. So that's also a major chunk of what I'm doing. And I think these are some of the very non-conventional career options that people need to think of. Litigation and having a corporate career is really not the end of the world. So you could even probably do like law and MBA. Like I've seen a couple of people who are pursuing that, not just in India but also overseas, where they're trying to understand how not just can they manage something, but they can also add a legal touch to it, which means they're able to tell people that here's the law, here's how it impacts our organization, and at the same time you're also managing and you're trying to, it could be anything, you're trying to market something or manage something. So these are some of the unconventional or non-traditional options people can definitely look at. And talking from the little experience that I have gained over the 6 years of my, I would say, legal career starting from Christ, is that there is really a dearth of people who can do really good legal research. And when I say this because sometimes I myself struggle in trying to extract those pressure points in whatever I'm reading or whatever policies or whatever laws that I'm looking at, because it becomes extremely difficult when someone does not have that skill. And we're trying to navigate different domains of laws. And we obviously know how different domains of laws have all been designed, but at the same time it becomes important to have that skill, have that research skill to extract pressure points from different domains and see how they interconnect, how they interplay with each other. So, yeah, these are some of the career options that people could consider.
Thank you. So, as we are to the end of the podcast session, so can you please give a last piece of advice for the law students?
Um, my few cents of advice would really be, the first thing that you start doing once you enter law school is please network as much as possible, as much as possible. Like, make friends, keep that connection, build on it, follow up on it. Don't just make that connection and forget about it. So network, 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 network. I will not overemphasize this um, at all. It's just what it is. Like, I understand, like, a lot of introverts ask me, for me networking is really difficult. I can't open up to people. I cannot, like, for the life of me, I can't go and speak to people just as naturally. Just look at it like making friends in a professional setting and you're sorted. So first advice would be network, network, network. Second advice would be start getting like good skills throughout your law schools. And when I say good skills, I'm talking about legal research, I'm talking about logical reasoning, I'm talking about critical analysis, I'm talking about good writing skills. All of these skills will come handy to you as you go forward in your career. It will come so handy to you that all the big tasks that seem very undoable start getting eased up by themselves. So start having a good foundational set of skills, I would say, and that is something that you need to build over the course of your law school journey. And it's not something that you do it. Okay, let's say you just do it in the first year or second year of law school, and you forget about it, and then you struggle later. So look at it like in the form of piecemeals. Literally, when I say piecemeals, I mean literally piecemeals. So it's like, let's say you start working on like legal research. Obviously over time it's going to help you advance in that, but it's something like a set of non-negotiable skills that you need as a lawyer, quintessentially, without any questions asked. Third piece of advice that I would give is, nothing is going to come easy. Your whole law school journey is going to be a proper roller coaster ride, like how it was for me. It was not easy, especially as a first generation lawyer. It's going to take you tremendous amount of convincing, often convincing your own people that, try explaining to them the kind of work that you're doing and why it makes sense. Like, that is something that a lot of people just dismiss, but please understand that this is something you're going to end up doing all your life, literally. Um, but also, basically think about how exactly, you need to make a mark in this world. Like, find that true purpose and work towards it. So nothing is going to come easy. I will tell you the kind, like, if you ask me the kind of hardships I went through during job search after my LLM, there, like, I remember not sleeping for weeks together. I'm not even talking about days together. I haven't slept for weeks together. There is like, I've done so much of endless ranting, crying, and doing all sorts of, people would call it drama, but all sorts of things, just to tell myself that I'm made for bigger things. Something is going to come up and all of it. So nothing's going to come easy in life. The next piece of advice, fourth piece of advice that I would give is, take everything seriously in life, especially when it comes to your career. Understand that it is no joke. You would have listened to other advice saying, take a chill pill, it's okay, it's easy, it's gonna sail through and all of it. Unless you take action, nothing's gonna happen. So whether it's like a little assignment that you're working on, or whether it's like some paper that you're writing for some publication, just take everything seriously and put your whole heart, uh, whole life into it. Like, literally try to understand exactly how you can contribute, um, how it's going to help the world. Like, think of it in that terms, and then it's going to sort of get easier. Last piece of advice for anyone, I wouldn't say not just like lawyers, I would say anyone: don't ever take no for an answer. Don't ever take no for an answer, because a lot of people have told me that what you're doing is impossible, what you're doing makes no sense at all, what you're doing is never going to work out. So don't take no for an answer. It's really, like, also telling them, like, you do what you have to do, but at the same time, if someone says you can't do it, someone says it's impossible, someone says you can't get it done, if someone starts giving you these thoughts, don't take no for an answer and prove them wrong. It's not just saying, like, it's not just about not taking no for an answer, but also proving them wrong. Like, just prove them wrong. Like, tell them, well, you told me it's not possible, I will prove you wrong, I will do it and I'll prove it to you wrong. So those were my 5 cents of advice, on the basis of all the experience that I've been able to gain. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pratik. Thank you so much. It was actually a great thing. Like, the thing is, like, most of the people, like, as you're telling, like, they won't be taking it serious. Whenever they enter the law school, like, in the first years and all, like, they won't be taking things serious because, like, where you want to learn about the research and basic things, people will be skipping that. And they'll, after going to third year or fourth year, they'll be realizing that they have missed a lot of things in law school, which they have to learn in the previous time. So that was actually really, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's actually one of those skills that I learned the hard way, because when I was working, for doing one of the internships, I think, yeah, this was actually in Times of India, and this was pretty late. And that was when, my supervisor had asked me to get something done in like 2 hours, and it was like tremendous amount of research. That was when I realized, like, I really need to get my game up on research and, like, literally have a game changer. So I would say don't learn it the hard way. Like, learn it and then keep it throughout your journey. It's not something like you just learn it and forget it and that's the end of the world. It's something that you keep practicing, keep doing over a period of time, so you perfect yourself. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
Thank you, Preeti. Thank you so much. And by here, we officially end the podcast. It was really good. Thank you for sharing all the insights. So, from behalf of Art of Law team side and the entire community who's following us, you've done a great job because I've just badly noted out each and every point you've been telling one by one. So, thank you so much A lot of insights have been given, and it's a shout out to advice to all the law students as well as people who are graduating from the LLB. It's important that you start following all the steps given by her. The life advice, those five important tips are super important, super crucial. And along with that, I hope by end of this podcast, all of you got a clarity about why you have to choose an LLM. What are the merits for it? What are the demerits for it? How to choose a specialization? What are the scholarship aspects? Even through the life navigation of Preethi's life, also we got a proper understanding about how these respective fields can create a huge amount of impact at the lateral stage of your life, and the importance of research, hard working to everything. Thank you so much, Preeti. Officially, once again, thank you so much. Huge thanks to you. So before we end this podcast, normally we have a culture, like asking like who would you be suggesting for the as the next guest for this particular Art of Law podcast? Do you have anyone? And yes, by then we'll be concluding the podcast.
Um, that's actually a very, very hard question because I've had several amazing mentors throughout my career. I would like to take, I don't know, maybe two names. Uh, One would be Pushkar Keshavmurthy, who has helped me a lot in my applications and like general mentorship. He's also an alumnus of Christ University, and he's very approachable. He's very friendly. I have like I don't know. I've bothered him so much just to get like a lot of good advice from him. So he's someone that I would recommend, and he's also someone who's going to give great advice. Um, his advice may differ from mine, but nevertheless, he's someone you should approach. The second person would be, I would say, he's someone whom I have revered throughout my life. He is currently the chief operating officer of John Distilleries Private Limited, which is an alcohol manufacturing firm, and his name is Mr. Sridhar Pongor. You should really speak to him as well. Even though he's not a lawyer by background, I think the advice that he's given me throughout has a lot of the credit that for the person that I am today, I owe it to him. So you should also speak to him. Um, Even though he's way older, way more experienced than all of us, he's extremely friendly. You can ask him like a lot of questions. You can also bug him, like I bug him. So, yeah, these are the two names that I would like to take. And the other thing that I would like to say before we close is if any of the listeners want to reach out to me, I'm always available on LinkedIn. My link, you can find me on LinkedIn as Preethi Gowda, which is spelled Preethi space Gowda, and you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to Pawan or Kamal. They have my number, so you can also get um my contact details from them, and I'm always happy to help anyone who needs help or who is looking for any sort of guidance that they might need. Always happy to help. One thing I keep doing this is because I literally had no one to hold my hand and tell me like, this is right, this is wrong, do this or do that. So I've learned a lot of things the hard way, so I don't want someone else going through the same thing that I went through once again. So always happy to help.
Thank you, Preeti. Thank you so much. You've been an amazing senior as well as a great host. Thank you so much for being very honest. You're being like very sharp with all the points. And for the audience, we'll also be sharing all the LinkedIn handles plus all the handles of Preeti below in the description box. You can still connect to her. Thank you, Preeti, once again. Thank you for being a great, amazing host. Once again, today's session was the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Pawan, and thank you, Kamal. Thanks to the whole community that you guys have built. I think the work that you are doing is fantastic. You should continue this. Keep going strong. So yeah, I think it's gonna, as much as it helps a lot of students, I think it's really important that we are able to gather a good community and help them share knowledge. And I think that's really something that we should be doing. So yeah.
Yes, Preeti. So I'm very sure that this is not going to be the last podcast. After this, we'll be having multiple podcasts with you. So, yes. So be stay tuned. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.